is a space in my heart where I find the truth. I find me in you, a truth beyond what you may see now. But when we are one, we bring more good about. No matter who or what you call yourself or where you come from, yeah. There is a place in this world with open arms right now. Welcome to love, welcome to peace, welcome to our community. Be who you are, let your light shine. We're so much more when we unite. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. I see with new eyes, allow and unfold, embrace and let go, trust the flow. There's a freedom in love when you follow your heart. Together we are stronger than we could ever be apart. No matter who or what you call yourself or where you come from, yeah. There is a place in this world with open arms right now. Welcome to love, welcome to peace, welcome to our community. Be who you are, let your light shine. We're so much more when we unite. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. Breathe in and out, slowly feel all that's around you, all that you feel, all that you know. Let it go. Welcome to love, welcome to peace, welcome to our community. Be who you are, let your light shine. We're so much more when we unite. Yeah, when we unite. Oh, we unite. Yeah, yeah, when we unite. Yeah, yeah. You are welcome here. Love is welcome here. Peace is welcome here. You are welcome here.
Yes, yes, yes. You are welcome here. Thank you for saying yes. Thank you for being in this space. And thank you for making yourself available. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, and good day to you wherever you are at this very moment in time. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in to yourself first and then tuning into the broadcast. When you tune in, you listen. When you listen, you make yourself available to be transformed. You never know how the transformation is going to happen. You don't know when it's going to sneak up on you. But if you stay ready, They say if you stay ready, you have to get ready or something like that. Yeah, sometimes you stay ready and you still need to get ready. But, it's important to listen to inner guidance so so you can have a sense of what is happening. I am Ade. I am your transformational beingness artist. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Being You, the journey back to yourself. Ade Presents Being You, the journey back to yourself. Season 3, episode 19. I've got some wonderful guests with me. I am excited to bring them on, but not right now because we got some things we got to talk about. We got to get it together. No, I'm just kidding. Don't even listen to what I say. I'm such in a different place. I think I messed around. Well, when I was talking to Satima about the title of the show, we were going back and forth, and we finally got to it after so many different things that happened. There's a lot of craziness that goes on behind the scenes, and when the camera goes on, it's like, good afternoon, how's everybody doing? It's so good. But before that, it was like, come on, it's almost time. So we called it When Life Gives You a New Identity. Oh my goodness, I did not know I was setting myself up. So anyway, I embrace it all. Being you is an invitation to have you look at yourself and really take a good look and ask yourself, how do I see myself? How do I see myself in the world? How do I see myself in the world, and how do I see the world in me? How do you really see yourself when it's just you and you, without even with the mental chatter, but you don't have anybody else saying, oh, you're right. No, just you and your thoughts and your feelings. How do you see yourself? How do you see the world? Are you seeing the world as a judgmental place, as a difficult place, as a good place, as a great place, whatever? It's important to have that connection with yourself and be honest and real with yourself. Then you also get to see how you see yourself in the world, and how you see the world in you. That is the process of being you, because when you know where you are, when you can sit with what comes up and do your best to be accepting of what comes up and release some of the judgment, you get a better understanding of who you are, and you get to see the world differently. So as I said, the topic today is when life gives you a new identity. The theme is say my name. What my name is, shout it. What my name is. Come on, man. Say my name. Put some respect on my name. So we're inviting you to just take a moment to see, how do you see yourself, right? And your name. What does it mean to you? I hear some people saying, oh, my parents gave me my mother gave me the name. My dad gave me my name. I don't know what it means. Well, okay. You can find out. And if you can't find out, you Google it. Google has almost any and everything. If you can't find the meaning on Google, make it up. You have the power to create and recreate your reality. And your name is about your nature. It's about your identity. It's about how you're showing up in the world. And sometimes you see yourself a certain way, and life comes around and like, psh, next, chapter 2 of your life. You're like, oh shit, I wasn't planning for all of this. But life is like, I don't give a flip. Come on. How do you handle it? How do you deal with that? We're going to be talking more about that. We're inviting you to join us on our main Facebook page, which is Being You Podcast. Facebook.com, Being You Podcast. Being You, Facebook.com / Being You Podcast. There it is. I got it out if I just slow down. We got some announcements here. Real quick, I'm going to go through them. Libsyn.com is the place you want to be if you're podcasting, thinking of podcasting, or, just not quite sure. You might want to check it out. Libsyn, LIBSYN.com. I partner with them. If you sign up, you get 1 month free. However, if you sign up, say like today, the 11th, you get the whole of today free and the whole of next month free. Check it out, libsyn.com, but you must use the promo code ADE, ADE. Without that, you're on your own. With me, I got your back. So just want to let you know that. Also, I want to tell you for the first time, if you're hearing it for the first time, join Ricky Byers and myself for Soul Fulfilling every Wednesday. That's 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern, and 2 a.m. UK time. Soulful songs, and soulful conversations. It is that show is charged, and the sharing and listen to Ricky's story, what inspires the song. We invite you to join us every Wednesday. It's Thursday if you're in UK. And last but not the least, I think, is representing our ancestors, representing our stories. To find out more about it, go to bit.ly represent stories. bit.ly represent stories. Representing our ancestors, representing our stories is an opportunity for us to take the power back, change the narrative, and stand on the shoulders of those who came before us, remembering that there's more to them than the oppression that they went through, than the discrimination that they experienced. We're reminding ourselves that they had faith. We're reminding ourselves that they had joy. They had vision. They struggled, but they never gave up. And they stayed alive long enough for you to be birthed. I'm going to flash this real quick for those of you who may not have caught my broadcast. If you go back 12 generations, check this out. Those of you on IG can see it. 12 generations. You, just by yourself, you have 4,096 people standing behind you. They came together 12 generations ago for you to be here today. So you are never alone. When you count back from your parents, your grandparents, your great-grandparents, keep going. And you can keep going. So if there's 4 of us in the room, each one of us have 4,096 just behind you. So together, times that by 4, multiply by 4. And if you go 20 generations, it's just a little over 1 million people just behind you. Their power, their dreams, their vision lives in you. But society wants you to believe something different. Society wants to say you're less than, or you're allowing yourself to believe that BS. Representing our ancestors, representing our stories is about changing the narrative, remembering that you're a spiritual being and the power and presence of God, of the divine, is expressing itself as you. The same power, the same presence that moved through your ancestors is in you. So if you're ever looking for your ancestors or saying, I don't know where I'm from, just look in the mirror. You are them. So it's May 15th, 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. UK time. Check it out. Register. Join us. It's a 3-part series. We did Grief Ritual less than a month ago, April 24th. The next one is Telling a New Story. And the final one, which happens to fall on June 19th, How Divine. It wasn't planned, but something else knew better. The theme for that is a vision of a new generation. Check it out, bit.ly represent stories. Register and join us this Saturday. I think that's it. I try not to go too fast, but I'm an Aries. I'm gone. I think I'm ready to bring my sister and my brother on. But before I do that, I just want to thank you all for being here. We are all going through and growing through challenging times, and it's hitting us in all kinds of ways. Sometimes it may look like somebody doing something to you. It may look like your computer not acting right. It may look like your Facebook page is locked out and you can't get into it. And you're like, I don't have time for this right now. But it shows up in all kinds of ways. There is a shift going on. We're all feeling it. Don't be distracted. Stay focused. Life is giving you a new identity, and it is good. If you're willing to accept it, you will see the goodness. It ain't always easy, but you gotta have people you hold on to. And speaking of holding on, our guests today, they know how to hold on, and they know when to let go. They know how to meet in the middle and say, okay, that's it. You go your way, I go my way. Let me tell you a little bit about them, reading their bio. I met them, I don't know, it's been a while now through Michelle's podcast. I was just so moved by their story, and not just the story, but how they related, how they shared. I was like, oh my God, I got to have them on my podcast. So I'm excited to have them. We had to do a little bit of mining because they're 2 diamonds. You have to dig for them if you really want to connect. So I consider myself privileged. Let me tell you about Nikki. Nikki Kimbrough is one of the top fitness experts in the United States. personal trainer for over 20 years, an entrepreneur, CEO and founder of Get Fit with Nick, Inc., TV personality and Broadway performer, producer, and director. She don't do a lot, man. I don't know why she's so lazy, why she thinks she can't do more than what she's doing already. But sometimes people need to do less. Yeah, she's busy. During the quarantine, Nikki created a video podcast show called The Ladies First Chit Chat Crew. I got to say that real slow. The Ladies First Chit Chat Crew, where she said, where we honor the voice of the everyday woman. The show's mission is to make room for women to evaluate where they stand and inspire them to take action. Together, Nikki and Billy, they produce a live video podcast show called The Amputee and His Girl, which is a chronicle of a couple living the entrepreneurial lifestyle while on the grind in New York City, with only 3 legs. Billy has always admitted being a little different. He said maybe it's his upbringing in Kansas. Maybe it was his time traveling the country with his boy band, Slow Mo. Smooth Daddy. But in May 2012, he endured his greatest challenge to date when he lost his left leg above the knee in a motorcycle accident and nearly killed him. He almost died. He said it was both the luckiest and unluckiest day of his life. Take a breath. He has trained clients for everything releasing a few pounds before a vacation to Tough Mudders, Spartan races, triathlon, and the New York City Marathon. And he speaks to groups all over the country and about his journey, about really tapping into something greater, something bigger, something more. He uses his journey to touch, move, and inspire others to greatness. So I've read a little bit about them. I want to bring them on. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, psychics and skeptics, physical beings and non-physical beings, because we want all of y'all to be here. Help me welcome my sister, my brother, Nikki and Billy. Hello.
Hi.
Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
You are very welcome. Let me solo you for me. Let me highlight you so they can see all that bling, all that blackness, all that love, all that yumminess. Thank you for being here.
How are you? Thank you for having us.
You're welcome. How are you guys doing? How are you navigating this sort of new phase? This something that probably doesn't have a name. Some people may call it new normal, but there ain't nothing new about it. How are you navigating this phase?
I mean, honestly, I don't know that it tripped us up that much. We're both pretty healthy people. We're used to regiment and following rules. So, we live in New York City. When it hit, everybody said, wear masks, stay inside, socially distance. We made a few adjustments. We made it work. Everybody in New York has been great. We've both been vaccinated. I was in fitness up until a couple of years ago and recently got my real estate license. So I've been working real estate online since the lockdown, and Nikki's job is largely on the computer anyway. So it just kind of flowed in from one thing into the next with us. And as the nation and the city opens up, we're just, back to doing things the way we did. It's nice to be busy. It's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful, it's a great time of year. New York is always amazing in the spring and summer to both of us, being outside and, just being able to go to restaurants and whatnot. So we've been good. I mean, how about anything?
Now things are great. I mean, of course, when it first started a year ago, we were like, like everybody else, what? But I do have to say, I say this all the time. I really believe being in quarantine brought us closer. I think some people say, oh, being in quarantine broke us up. Being in quarantine brought us closer. It happened. We were already pretty decent communicators, but we really got a chance to communicate and just talk. And I always say that quarantine has me loving my man and respecting him so much more than I ever had in my entire life. And I thought he was dope before. I really think he's dope now. And yeah, I have to say, business wise, in a weird way, my business flourished. Moving everything to Zoom and training on Zoom and teaching my classes on Zoom really took a whole identity of its own that I didn't expect. So whereas, of course, we were not happy about COVID-19 and how it's affected the entire world, the quarantine space was like really was what we needed in a weird kind of way,
Yeah, it really forced us to slow down. We're typically kind of workaholics in general. So the initial stop, can't do anything. We were a little stir crazy at first, but it really forced us to kind of slow down, stop everything, reevaluate, kind of reconfigure some things. And then in terms of, business and growth and whatnot, I've heard it said several times, if quarantine didn't bring out your hustle, then you never had it to begin with. So it was just an opportunity to say, okay, how can we adjust? How can we shift the hustle and make it work? And I think that for a lot of people, ourselves included, we tried to find a silver lining in the cloud, and so we did.
Yeah,
that's it. Yeah. That's it. It's mindset is important. I mean, mindset, consciousness is the most powerful thing. In fact, I feel like our mindset, our consciousness is the most powerful immune system, and we get to choose how we respond and react to what happens. And in recognizing that we have a choice in how life is happening, life happens, life gives us a new identity, brings all kind of plates that we think, I didn't order this, but no, you ordered it. It's the mindset that makes a difference. And I think, yes, those who broke up, and I'm sure it was hard wherever they are in the world. And I think because it's a global thing, we were all, there was a little bit more intense to it, actually a lot more intensity to it. And so if people broke up, it's because that's what was needed. And based on their mindset, they get to deal with what comes after that. Some people get closer because that's what is needed. And life never wastes anything. Everything is for us. And we just get to decide and choose how we deal with it. And we're jumping into some deep conversation already, but I want to take it back a little bit. So the theme is Say My Name, right? And being you, the podcast, it's about turning in, listening to that inner guidance when there is a global pandemic and you can't reach out to your loved ones. How do you connect with that part of you? Where are you getting your information from? And I feel like all of us, I believe that we're all spiritual beings, and our name is a representation of our soul signature, of our nature. It's a representation of all that is us. Our name is the representation of all who came before us. And whether we know it enough or not, I believe we live in and we carry the energy of that name in what we do. So with that said, I'm going to start with you, Nikki. Tell us the meaning of your name, or names, if you want to do first name, last name, middle name, or maybe it's like, well, maybe they named you Nikki or you chose Nikki, because you have Nikki and then you have Nick. So you play with your name. So tell us the meaning of your name and what it means to you.
Well, my nickname is Nikki, but my birth name is Nicole. My mom's watching. My mom and my aunt are watching. My birth name is Nicole. I actually really love my first name. I don't really use it. Nikki just kind of stuck as I went along. I think more so my personality. But Nicole means victory. I remember as a child, one of my Aunt Ruth bought me a bookmark that said Nicole victory. And it was either Aunt Ruth or Aunt Sylvia, one of them. It said victory. And I have carried that with me my entire life. My name means victorious, victory. And I truly believe that that's what I stand for. I stand for victory. I stand for, life is going to throw you lemons and you're going to have triumphs, and we're going to have the victory and victoriously, get through everything. And sorry about that, you guys. We got a little phone call. Anyway, so my name means victory, and I love that it stands for that. And I really believe that I have the victory. Billy and I both. My mom just said, "Hello, Ade. Very nice to meet you."
Nice to meet you, Pat. Mama Pat. So if your name is Victory, so when you and Billy got together, I bet your family was like, listen, don't mess around because you won when you found her.
Something like that. Something like that.
So Billy, your name,
Yeah.
what does it mean? What does it mean to you?
Well, Billy, which is actually short for William. I'm actually William Davis III, named after my father and my grandfather before him. And William means guardian and protector. And I have probably always just lived powerfully into that as a person who's always been a little bit, larger than life, big personality, a little bit louder. Most of the men in my family are pretty alpha, and just in every capacity and at every opportunity, I can't remember a time when I haven't ever stepped up to try to either lead or try to be, just like, where can I contribute? And so there's definitely an element of how can I protect those who are not as strong, not as big, not as loud, not as whatever, because I always tend to land as the most of something. And, as young as I can remember, I was the kid that, even as an elementary school kid, if one of my friends got beat up, I was a kid that went and hunted down the kids that beat him up. It was barbaric as that sound. It was the 80s. It was a different time. You could still get into a fist fight with another kid, and nobody called child services. But if my little group of friends I remember very distinctly, one of my friends in school got jumped. I went and found each one of those kids and exacted just a little bit of revenge, and was like, and this is what happens when you jump one of my friends, so. That's kind of always. They jumped him. They jumped. He was 3-on-1, so I found the biggest guy, and I wore his butt out for a lot of it. And
he said, "Let me tell the whole truth."
I put up. He still remembers. Let me just say, I haven't seen him since we were 13, 14. I bet he still remembers that one. He remembers that day. I know he does.
You basically opened that can of whoop ass and whooped his behind back home.
I poured a whole 2-liter bottle all over him. So yeah.
I love this story. And your names, you have Victory and Guardian and Protector. And I want to play around with that a little bit before we talk about your journey, your story, and being given a new identity. How do you both see your names playing out together? Like when you bring the Victory and the Guardian and Protector together, how do you see it unfolding in what you do right now?
Oh, it's funny when you said that. My girlfriend Crystal always says she feels the ping when you feel like you get a little emotional. I got a little emotional there for a minute. I got a ping because really I'm very much a type A personality. I know you know those women, Ade. I remember when Billy and I first started dating, and I would tell my mom, he's so great. He wants to pick me up. And I told him I'd meet him there. My mom said, give him an opportunity to pick you up. Let him do these things. Because I can get very much like, I can do it myself. I can change the tire myself. Again, going back to quarantine, I'm about to cry. I really had the opportunity to see the guardian and the protector in Billy, like hands down. And when Billy says quarantine allowed us to slow down, I was always, people that know me, I'm always here, that I think I never took the time to just go like this, to not allow, but to really see how my man is the guardian and the protector. He wants to make sure that I am happy. He cooks me breakfast. He makes sure, look, I'm the personal trainer. He makes sure I eat. He makes sure everything is straight. He really is the guardian and the protector. And I really got an opportunity to see that when I slowed down. And I really think God was like, look, I'm about to slow you down so you can really
take it down a notch. Take it down.
How dope this dude is. And so I really got an opportunity to see that. So I do feel and see the guardian and protector. And that's it.
Before I go to Billy, Nikki, I want to stay with you. What was that ping that you caught, that you felt, that made you go, what was that thing? If you were to give it a word.
I didn't expect to be in here about to cry. I feel very blessed. I feel very blessed to have a partner that not wants to see me win, wants to see himself win, and more importantly, wants to see us win. And I feel very blessed in that. And I share with my girlfriends from the Ladies First Chit Chat crew. Sometimes I'm sad that it took this space for me to really just see how blessed I am, and I'm extremely grateful for it. I'm extremely grateful for him, and I'm completely grateful for you.
I appreciate that.
Appreciate it. I know you do.
She's like, let me take you back a little bit.
Yeah, I am. I really am. Yeah.
So, Billy, my brother, what about you? How do you see the combination of Victory and the Guardian and Protector coming together, playing out?
Well, I mean, you know, on the other side, I'll start with Nikki's name, Victory. This woman, one of the things I love about Nikki is her vision is so big, and she just does not take no for an answer. And I mean, to the point where sometimes I catch myself like, baby, that's not even a thing. Like, I don't know what you're. She's like, we gonna make $1 million next month. I just came up with a way to make $100,000 right now. And I was like, okay, but we only need like 10, like, by the end of next week. All right, great. Let's do that. So, her will to win, her competitive drive, her spirit, her optimism is just never ending and always on full go. And I think Nikki has willed herself to success in so many areas. And not to say that she is not talented, because Nikki is honestly one of the most talented people I have ever met in anything. So people say, I can sing. This one can sing. People say, oh, it's a great athlete. This one was an amazing athlete. She and both of us, we share in common having moved out away from our families, into one of the most active, most competitive, most, industrious and capitalist cities in the world, with no support, no help, no silver spoons, no backup. No, I don't want to say backup plan, but, just really ready to rock. And moved to New York and just said, look, one-way ticket, burn the boats. Like we're going. And both of us did that independent of each other and are still out here 20 years later, still grinding. This one has a master's degree and could easily have gone a much easier, and I don't want to say easier, but a simpler, less bumpy path, and opted, you know what, I'm going to blaze my own way, and has been successful at that. And I always admire that. And she just refuses to lose. So when, the name, Nikki as it translates to victory is completely appropriate. And in that same context, you've also got a person, we talk about William and the meaning guardian and protector. Anyone that knows Nikki knows she is a go-to person. If you need something, all of her friends know Nikki is the one to go to. She is the backbone of so many communities. It's amazing. So it doesn't surprise me. It's an easy correlation to make between those two distinctions.
Nikki, did you catch that? That he talked more about you in that combination, right?
I know. I was like, that was nice.
It's so heartwarming to just hear the love that you both have for each other. And before we even talk about some of the ways, one particular way, and just other ways how life is giving you a new identity to show up as a couple, as you deal with life, let's talk about how you two came together. How did you meet? I know there was somewhere in the story where Billy thought Nikki couldn't sing. Something like that.
I mean,
I know you can
so long, and it could easily do a mini series on Netflix. We basically met through a mutual friend of mine. As you mentioned, I was in a boy band, Slow Motion, and moved out here in 1998 to pursue a couple record deals. And through a couple of things, Eventually that didn't work out. And my best friend, Roger Ortega, ended up working at a gym where Nikki was, where Nikki also worked. And so our first introduction to each other, Nikki was in a relationship, I was in a relationship, and we would keep meeting at these barbecues that my friend would meet. And I remember immediately the very first time I saw Nikki, I was married and with my now ex-wife, and still was flabbergasted and just thought, oh my God, I didn't know they made that model. Like, where do they make those?
Wow, God showed out with it.
Yeah, I was happily married and was like, man, I never saw a black girl like that before. Like, they just didn't. I never saw one. So, and then eventually, my relationship ended, her relationship ended, and even then we were friends. But I had a crush.
What you shaking your head for, Nikki?
We were just friends.
We were friends. I had a crush.
Okay.
I don't remember a day when I didn't have a crush on Nikki. It was just a bunch of years where I didn't tell anybody, and and then there was a bunch of years where I told everybody but her. And eventually, the boy band thing turned into a cover band that I was in, and I was the lead singer of a cover band for a lot of years. And at some point, the cover band decided to make more money. We said we needed a female singer, and so we all kind of put out our feelers. And I was like, well, I know a couple girls that can sing, and Nikki was one of them. And I remember somebody asking me, like, have you ever heard her sing? I was like, well, not really, but she's really cute. She was on Star Search. She took second, so that's got to be good, right? And she's really cute, and she's got a great ass. So
now what a resume! I've been told I have great ass.
So like, why not? And when she came and sang, of course, no one was disappointed. And even then, it was another 3 years before I even asked her out on a date. And when I finally did, I think everybody that knows us was like, finally, and I did, and it was the best decision I ever made, and hopefully the best decision she ever made.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny, Ade, when you said he didn't know I could sing. It wasn't I didn't know I could sing. I had come into the group and it was his band. So, I was like, okay, it's his band. Let me just see what's up. And I always tell Billy to this day, he never did his homework. He didn't do his research. He knew I was a singer, but he didn't know what my lineage or my.
He didn't know you can sing.
I know she can sing, but I didn't know that she had so much formal training.
Like, he didn't know I had stage. He didn't know any of that.
Training like
so our first show, he's sitting here telling me how to sell to the audience and how to have showmanship. And you got to do this. You got to sing to the crowd. And I'm just looking at him like, okay, you don't know. Let me just let him think a little bit. And so it wasn't until they gave me, I love Tina Turner. They gave me a Proud Mary song to sing. And I was like, okay, here we go. And I I went in the audience and dropped the mic moment. I will never forget. I went out in the audience. I came back on stage and I looked at him. And it was like inside, I was like this. Yes, sucker.
Now what?
No, but we were friends for 7 years before we started dating. And I went on tour with the Broadway National Tour of Dream Girls, and I had come back to sing with the band one last time. And I knew that I had a crush on, it was weird because it was Billy. It was like Billy, my friend. But I remember I had cut all my hair off, and whenever we would have the band, whenever we would sing, we would wear black. And some Saturdays I wear the same black dress. I remember this Saturday, I changed my dress 3 times. And I was like, why am I changing my dress? And I remember in the car on the way to the venue, I was like, I hope Billy likes my hair. Because, I used to have a big old fabulous weave. And I cut all my hair off. And I was like, I hope he likes my hair. And I was like, why do I care? And I just remember he saying to me right before we started singing, I will never forget this. He said, I've admired you from afar for almost 7 years now. I would like to take you out on a date. And what did I say, Billy?
That means you're going to make me blush.
I said, let me think about it.
Just what a guy wants to hear.
But I about it, and I reached out to one of our mentors, big brother, and he was like, Billy's always had a crush on you. Just go. So I always tell this story. I'm a little bit embarrassed to say it. I would go, all right, let me go. Let me just get this over with, see what happens. But I do have to say something to you, though, Ade, saying the meaning of Billy's name. when I think back, that's what I felt on our first official date. I felt the guardian and the protector. And I was like, oh my God, I think Billy Davis might be my husband. I felt that. And every time, every guy I've ever dated, when I was in the passenger side of the car, I would fall asleep, but like have one eye open. Billy was the first man that I fell out. Like, and I knew that I was protected and I was going to be okay. So, yeah.
Didn't really help me because I wanted to talk to her to see if I could, like, you know, make some headway. I look over 10 minutes into the ride, she's passed out. I'm like, all right, well, maybe next time.
Because she was holding the victory down, like, we got this. You just protect us and watch over us. We got this.
I'm trying to get some headway, and I can't get her to stay. I can't keep her awake during the drive home.
Let's talk about that intuitive knowing, that inner knowing that sometimes we all have access to divine guidance, and it's easy to miss it. And even when the opportunity comes, we're still like, you were saying, I wonder what Billy thinks about this. And then you're like, why am I even thinking about it? But when it did ask you out, you're like, let me think about it. What was happening there? Even though you found yourself thinking about what he thinks about your appearance, when he did ask you out, you're like, hold on a minute. What was really happening that made you say, hold on a minute, brother, let me go do some credit check?
You know what it was? It's not even that deep. Because Billy and I were friends, I knew, some past girlfriends, and one particular, even though they hadn't been together in a long time, I felt like I knew that she back then still had a special place for him in her heart. And I was like, I don't know. I really like this girl. I don't know. And then our friend and mentor was like, they haven't been together in 4 years. I was like, I guess you're right. And, of course, I talked to my friends, and they were like, Nick, he had other girlfriends between that. And so that was one of the things. And then I remember when we went on our first date, and I just was like, oh my God, this might be it. I remember I was throwing everything at him. I was telling him everything that he didn't know about me to try to be like, no, get away, get away. It was the first. Oh, got that ping again. I feel extremely safe with my mother. I feel extremely safe with my mother. I have my entire life, and it was the first time that I felt that safe, that familiar safeness. And I was like, oh, wait a minute, only Miss Pat rides in this lane, And
only Miss Pat rides to this lane. Like, back up, brother, back up.
Yeah, and it's so funny. Billy has a really great, he's a great mix between both of my parents. My dad is this attractive, good-looking man, bold and powerful and tall and funny and, always can uplift me when I'm down. And that's Billy. And then my mom, she's I call her the Rock of Gibraltar. And through my faults and up and downs and the great moments, she's been a constant. And Billy has a lot of both of those qualities for me. And I saw it very, very early. I saw both of them in him very early. And I think it scared me a little bit. Yeah. Yeah.
Brother Billy, she was throwing all that stuff at you and like, I got this. Next. You went Matrix on her before they started Matrix. You were like, no, I can handle this bullet. What was that like when she was throwing the things that she was throwing at you that, according to Nikki, it was like she's trying to like see how far I guess you're saying if you can take it or if you're going to find a little crack in it, right, Nikki?
Well, I mean, when I first asked her out, one of the things that, before I asked Nikki out, one of the common things she would say, which would always annoy the hell out of me, is, if you want so much like my brother, I'd date you. You need to find yourself a nice girl like me. And I always remember thinking, I don't want a nice girl like you. I want you, So, I mean,
she was trying to friend zone you. And you're like, oh, hell no.
She friend zoned the hell out of me. I was there for a minute. I was like the dude in the phantom zone, just around the mirror in space,
Claustrophobic.
But I also knew that we had such.
We've had the frozen. Let's see. Oh,
There we go.
Okay, there we go.
We
not
good?
on that side yet. Hold on 1 second. Let me do this. No, you're still frozen on our end. That's a nice shot. All right, let's remove it and then see. Satimaka, you just kind of check and see what's going on. But yeah, you're listening to Ade Presents Being You. Thank you for being here. They'll be back. We air every Tuesday, 6 p.m. UK time, 1 p.m. Eastern. And you can find out more information about what we're up to here by going to facebook.com/Being You podcast. And you can also check us out on YouTube. We stream on both platforms, which is youtube.com/LC Radio. youtube.com LC Radio. All right, they're back, rebooted, reloaded, refreshed, and restored. So you definitely got to put in some kind of zone. So you were talking about being put in friend zone.
Well, I mean, again, it was just knowing Nikki as well as I did over the years. We had a very, very similar upbringing. We had very, very similar histories. We had very, very similar experiences growing up. Even though she grew up in Virginia and I grew up in Kansas, our paths were so freakishly identical. We even ended up in New York on very similar paths in a way. So I just had a feeling that we'd be able to relate to each other, and both of us being the type of achievers that we've been in our past, I just knew that we would be able to relate. And that's not to say that other people weren't great. I just had a feeling, and I remember just thinking like, man, I bet if she went out on one date with me, we would have a connection. And I really have faith in that. So, she said what she said, and I told her, I was like, I even phrased it. I said, look, I might be wrong. Let me take you out. And if it doesn't work, I'll never ask you again.
You sure did.
But I can't keep going with this, what if I do it and maybe and you should date somebody. No, let's at the very least just check this off the box. And then if it doesn't work, we can just say it didn't work and go back to being friends. Mm-hmm. And then we'll just have a funny story about how we tried to go out on a date and it really didn't work. And I knew that it would. I told my mother 2 months before that I was going to ask her out, and I remember my mother, we were joking, and, there was a lot, I had to dodge a lot of stuff to get there. Cause I remember my mother asking me, well, does she like you? And I was like, not really. I was like, I don't even think she respects me, but I kind of said it jokingly, but at the same time, I was like, I know she doesn't like me, but I feel like if she would get past whatever that is, we'd be okay. So just let me get one date, and that's all I ask. Just let me take you out on one date. And if you don't like it, we don't have to do it again. But
it's so funny. One of my best friends, Crystal, is on, and I remember years ago back at the Ballet Total Fitness, Crystal used to say, I just love Billy. He reminds, and I don't know if she said he reminds her of her cousin or somebody. She was like, he's great, Nikki. I just be like, that's Billy. I remember that. I just be like, that's just Billy, and I remember all that. Yeah, it's funny.
So, I mean, going back over our friendship over the years, there were several instances where, like I would I remember when we were at the gym together, I would buy her like orange slices on her birthday, because I knew that she liked orange slices, those gummy orange slices. And we're supposed to be health professionals. We're not supposed to eat that crap.
He saw me one time.
She would sneak him like a kid with, like a fat kid with candy.
I'd be like, if
like nobody notices. So I would buy them for her, and then, or like when
was that after you started dating or before?
No, way before.
So that thing about him never paid attention, didn't do his research, that's not completely true. He may not know about the singing aspect, but he knows
from the singing aspect he has.
Yes.
From the other aspect, I remember it was my birthday, and Billy goes, he knows that simple things make me smile. He gave me those orange slices, and you would have thought it was a Louis Vuitton bag. It was so I couldn't believe this dude paid attention to something that I was trying to keep secret, because I didn't want anybody to know that the spokesperson of Ballet Total Fitness was sneaking and orange slices. But I I couldn't believe it. Like it just meant a lot to me. I'm telling you, there was, you know, I think about it now. Ooh, yeah.
The game pinged again.
It's weird. It's weird. I don't know.
Well, you know, those things that, how do I say it? Not necessarily, I don't want to say things that are meant to be. The things that goes beyond our conscious minds, you know, when they happen, we say weird, but sometimes the weird things are the things that really, they have so much messages for us. Like, I think of your story as I listen, and what I do know is you've sort of been building a foundation for this moment to where you are now. And the moment that I'm actually talking about, which I would yield to you to talk about it, Billy, is the day of your accident. Because it's like, you know, when I think of it, I might think, Nikki, for you, you know, here's this, your beloved in an accident. I'm sure your heart broke open and wanting to be there. But later, after everything is sort of coming together, it may be a space where you're like, but wait a minute, how are we going to move forward? But let me not go too far ahead. Let's come back to, you know, because there's so much you can say. And I want to ask about the relationship itself, because I think it needs to be heard. There's too much misinformation. There's too much erroneous thoughts out there about relationship, romantic relationship, and especially as it relates to Black people. So for me, I am so grateful and honored to be hearing you share the story, and you're not just an anomaly, that one thing that just kind of happens. It happens. We just always hear about it, or sometimes we get so caught up in the other stuff. But anyway, coming back to what Billy describes as the luckiest day of his life and the unluckiest day of his life. Tell us about that.
So what you're referring to is May 19th, 2012. I was hanging out. I was headed to actually, I was on my way back from a bachelor party in the Catskills when I suffered a very, very traumatic motorcycle accident. And when the bike stopped moving and I stopped moving after I wrecked, I had a compound fracture in my tibia, dislocated my knee, broke my femur in 2 places, snapped my femoral artery, and immediately began to bleed out, such that when I got to the hospital, I only had 15% of my body's blood volume left. By the grace of God and a whole lot of blood, 15%. And
15?
15, 1-5. Wow. And typically, if you lose, you'll lose 5% in any major surgery. And if you get below 10%, most people don't come back. So there's a real surge to keep that number. So it just happened that like a couple minutes before the accident, I happened to pass an Army medic who was kind of getting ready for his retirement. He saw my motorcycle, thought it was really cool. And then the next exit he got off of, my motorcycle was sliding across the exit. And I was out in the middle of the highway exit with my leg underneath with my foot underneath my shoulder next to my helmet. So, but yeah, it was a pretty crazy accident. I would endure 11 hours worth of surgery. I flatlined twice. I had 4 blood transfusions. I was in a coma for almost 5 days. And yeah, you know, and it was like I said, the luckiest and the unluckiest day of my life. Lucky because, granted, there was somebody there that knew what to do. Matt's job in Afghanistan and Iraq was bag tag and disposal of body parts, and he had already been cited. He'd been given civilian citations in Germany twice for being a first responder at a civilian accident and saving lives. And he'd been in a similar accident with himself, lost a limb and had it reattached 20 years earlier. So after all these close calls, these crazy situations, and just being a medic, he typically carried a U.S. medical service bag on him, like a medical kit, which included 2 tourniquets. And if not for those 2 tourniquets, I would have easily bled out in a matter of a couple of minutes, but I didn't. And, you know, it also helped that I was in immaculate shape when it happened. My history in fitness, my background in fitness and weightlifting and cycling and jiu-jitsu and all of these things really paid dividends because my body was able to take the damage and not freak out. You know, you take the average 30-some-odd-year-old who's, you know, in America, we've got an obesity epidemic. So if I was 25, 30 pounds overweight, never worked out, you know, and just kind of rode motorcycles, you know, I probably would be a tribute in somebody's bedroom right now. But I didn't. You know, I was there and I made it. And, you know, and let's be honest, I just tend to be a tough SOB. You So I came back from that slowly but surely, and in time I turned it into a cause and a platform so that I could help other people. We call it Cheeseburger Day because after being in this coma, I had this incredible dream. After one of my flatlines, I had this incredible dream where I literally was riding through Manhattan by myself, talking to some voice that I couldn't see that just kept saying, if you say yes, you can't say no. And while I rode through Manhattan on a perfect spring day. And at some point when I said, no, I don't want to be here anymore, I talk too much, that's about the time I woke up. And when I woke up, the very first words out of my mouth were, can a brother get a cheeseburger and a Coke? I'm hungry, which is a little gangster. It's kind of gangster. And we turned that, a year later, we turned that into a cause. And, actually, I shouldn't say a year later, because a year later, rather than celebrate the accident, I wanted to celebrate the triumph that I woke up. And so the only thing that what made sense was, hey, everybody, remember that cheeseburger? I got my cheeseburger. So, and my friends, my community, they were wonderful. I know so many amazing people. They all responded with cheeseburgers. Hey, man, you got a cheeseburger too. Thanks for not dying. Ha ha.
Thank you for not dying.
A few years later, when I had an opportunity to really test that platform, I did it by challenging people to donate the cost of a cheeseburger to an organization that supports amputee and people suffering from limb loss. And we had such an amazing response that we have now duplicated it every year since. And it's been a really, really great it's been a really, really great thing for a lot of people. We've put, legs on people, soup to nuts, people from South Africa, Sierra Leone, the West Coast, the East Coast. It's been a really, really great thing. If you lose your limb as an adult, especially, it's typically from either some sort of, genetic anomaly of some sort, it could be cancer, diabetes, that sort of thing, or it's trauma. And if you don't lose it in some dramatic way, you're just all of a sudden burdened with this incredible obstacle that most people are not equipped to handle. And there's a lot of elements to it. One is, of course, the physical. Are you physically capable of all of a sudden not having one of your primary motor limbs being your leg? Most people are not. And then two is the financial. Heaven forbid you're in a public incident where a taxi runs into your leg, or there's there was the Boston Marathon bombing. That was a horrible thing. But trust me, if you were in that thing, somebody gave you a limb.
Yeah,
like Oprah reached out, somebody reached out and was like, look, we're really sorry about that. That was terrible. Here's something. For most people, you just had a shitty day. I'm sorry. You just had a bad day on the highway. For most of us, it was just a really crappy day somewhere. And all of a sudden, in addition to the stress of a relationship, the stress of raising a child, the stress of keeping your job, the stress of keeping the bills on and taking care of whatever, all of a sudden now you're missing a limb.
And I just want to interject real quick. I always want people to know Billy ran over something that ruptured his tire. He wasn't speeding. He wasn't a speedster. He like full gear, the
helmet, gloves,
jacket. Every year. He takes a safety class, and he had just taken the safety class, so everything was like fresh in his mind. But he ran over something that ruptured his tire, and that's what happened. Yeah.
So I mean, where some people get out of accidents like, oh, I was drinking and doing 160 and riding wheelies on the highway. I wasn't doing none of that. I was going slow and chilling. I just had a bad day on a bike. And
so let's talk about that, because you talked about while it happened. And then you talked about what you've been doing since. But most of the time in life, I find that it's the in-between that we deal with on a daily basis, whatever that is, whatever the issue is. Somebody, there's a betrayal, we lost a job, someone we care about left. The in-between moment, that's what I really want to talk about. When you woke up and asked for your cheeseburger and your Coke, and you had that and felt satisfied, and you're talking about normally people, somebody who's drunk gets an accident and they lose a limb, they can say, well, it's all my fault. But you were following the rules. How did you navigate that in-between time before you can get to a place of actually having a cause? How did you navigate that emotionally? What kept you, how did you do it?
Well, I first have to give a lot of credit to my parents. One of the things that I didn't mention that I, in more of a long form I would talk about, both of my parents are legally blind. They were born with very, very, very poor eyesight. They actually met at a school for the blind. So I was raised by two parents who could not see across a room. They could see, but like they couldn't drive, no heavy machinery. We never had a car. So that was just, I was always around people with physical disabilities. My mother worked for Services for the Blind, training blind people to do everyday things. They call it techniques of daily living. So there were a lot of blind people in my peripheral, a lot of deaf people, a lot of kids with disabilities that my mom would drag me to barbecues and be like, we need some more boys at this picnic, at this barbecue for all these blind girls, these blind kids. We need some boys. You're going to come hang out. So I was always around kids with disabilities. So when the accident happened, as I kind of came to get my new reality, and it took a second. I mean, there was a bunch of days where I woke up and prayed that it was a bad dream and realized it wasn't. And, but as I got my new reality kind of set in, I became very clear about a few things. And one, and let me just back up a little bit. I have always said that I am uniquely qualified for this particular obstacle. One is because my parents were visually impaired. Two is because I was very, very athletic and very active growing up. So I knew as soon as I woke up, I had to find something more difficult to focus on than my new disability. I knew that if the only peak that I was looking at was getting over the amputation, it would not be enough. So I thought, well, what can I do that's harder than this that will make walking around with a prosthetic easier? Not easy, just easier. And so to me, it was, what is the most difficult thing you can think of? And immediately I just thought Ironman, like the triathlon Ironman, which for those of you who don't know is a 2.5 mile swim, a 112 mile bike ride, and a marathon, which as a fitness professional, it's kind of one of those like things that a lot of fitness professionals say they're going to do. And 99.9 of them don't ever even try, much less accomplish it. So, and I was always a fan. I was like, man, I could do one of those. And I didn't even know how to swim, which is like, folks. So when I woke up, excuse me, and I thought Ironman, I thought, okay, I really like to ride bicycles. I do not know how to swim, and I hate to run distance, even though I ran track in college. It was Division I track.
He was a sprinter.
Yeah, she was a long jumper. I was a sprinter.
I was a long jumper and a sprinter.
She said, I'm just saying.
So I knew that if I could focus on those things, it would be easier. I thought if I can find love and joy in long distance running, that's going to help. And I said, I don't know how to swim. I'm 38. I don't know how to swim. But I bet, first of all, the chances of me drowning trying to swim for a triathlon are probably nil if I can survive this. Like, what kind of hilarious story would that be? It was like, hey, survived a motorcycle accident and then drowned in a triathlon. I don't think so. That can't be the word. That can't be it. And then I thought, well, swimming is also something that if you keep doing it, no matter how bad you are, you're bound to get better if you can just keep doing it. So I had this thing in my head that I'm going to learn to swim. I don't know how. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I'll learn to swim. And it took a long time. It was very slow progression over a lot of time. But eventually I learned to swim.
He did.
I learned to run, and I started doing triathlons, and I fell in love with that and found a community that does the same thing. So it's always about making a goal bigger than the one that you have, that's bigger than yourself. And I just kept putting everything on the other side of, I got to get to Ironman. I got to get to Ironman. And I knew if I could do whatever it took to become an Ironman, that being an amputee wouldn't be the worst thing that I did that day. So on those days when I've done 40, 60, 80-mile rides, I swam 1.5 miles, I've run 6 miles, 8 miles,
with one leg.
With one leg, like especially like there's. Let me tell you something.
I like how you were talking about it as if you had a Coke and cheeseburger.
Let me say this: there has never been one triathlon that I did not want to quit. I have never started a triathlon that at some point I thought, why am I out here? It is 5 o'clock in the morning. What the hell am I doing? Why do I do this? You get in the water and you're like, man, it's cold. It sucks. I don't want to be here. And then it goes and you're like, oh, this water. Then you get on the bike and you're like, I'm wet, but I'm trying to ride a bicycle. You get on the bicycle and you're like, damn it, now I got to run. I'm tired. My leg. What the hell? But when you're done, the glow and the feeling of that lasts for weeks. You know, it's just, there's something about being able to walk around the next day, because I'm a big fan of like carry your trophy. So every time I finish a race, I carry the medal in my pocket for at least a month. I just walk around with it in my bag. I don't show it the day after I wear it on my shirt. I wear it. I wear the medal. But after that, I put it in my bag and I just carry it. And every time I open my bag, I look at it and go, this is why. Because this is something that not everybody can do. And this means that you're doing something right, because this is hard. And being an amputee is hard. But being an out of shape amputee is way harder. Being an unmotivated amputee is way harder. You know, being an amputee without goals is way harder. So I contextualize it inside of sport that way. And that's why I'm a big fan of fitness and sport. There is not an ailment that your body will go through for which being in better physical condition will not help. Whether it's cancer, whether it's being an amputee, whether it's, you know, MS or any sort of mental, whatever it is, if you're in better physical shape, you're probably going to be okay. And I think that had a lot to do with the way we dealt with COVID. Okay, great. You know, this is happening, but you know what? If you're not obese, if you eat clean, if you do the right things, drink lots of water, make sure you work out, you can ride a bicycle and there's no social distancing involved. You can't get within 6 feet of somebody on a bike doing 30 miles an hour, 20 miles an hour. You can't get within 6 feet of me in a pool. It's not possible. So we did that. And so early on, I just knew if I can figure out a way to contextualize it inside of a sport that I love. And like I said, I fell in love with triathlons. It is so much fun. And I found a community, because that's another thing. You know, again, uniquely qualified. The two things that amputees typically, the two traps that amputees typically fall into first are alcoholism and opioid abuse. It so happens, I discovered early in my 30s, I'm allergic to alcohol. I can't drink a sip of beer without getting like ridiculously nauseous. Not drink, like hungover sick, just like alcohol does not agree with me biologically, metabolically. So I don't drink. And then opioid abuse. I'm barely regimented enough to take the nutrients and the neurotropics that I already have on a daily basis, much less get addicted to any sort of pain pill. I've just never been a pill guy in general. So I dodged both of those bullets in a major way. And so for me, it was just, okay, so stay healthy. And then, as if I didn't need enough motivation, when you are a leg amputee or any sort of amputee, you have a fixed socket that goes onto your limb. And we learned during the first Super Bowl after my accident, or the first big party, salt intake will make your body expand a little bit. So I learned that like a big plate of nachos one day will ruin my leg fit for the next 2 days.
Oh, goodness.
Water retention. So it became, so I can't just gain 10 pounds anywhere. I need to always be active and within weight. And plus, and finally, when you're an amputee, especially a leg amputee, it's so easy to not move. The leg is designed to walk, but it's not designed to sit. It's not really designed to do a whole lot of other things. So it's easy. I can get anybody to hand me anything by just flashing metal and going, can you get that for me?
Yes.
Bring it over. Can you open that for me? Can you carry that for me? You know, and then when I go somewhere, let me find some place to sit, because standing in a prosthetic leg gets uncomfortable after a while. So I always want to sit down. So that said, I knew that if I take the path of least resistance, which we do metabolically, you know, anyway, it just doesn't work for me. So I have to stay active. I have to stay moving. And as if that weren't enough, having a triathlon, having a race, having an event in the future forces you to get off your butt. I have another race on July 11th. You know what? I got to get out and swim. I got to get out and run. I got to get out and bike, because otherwise I'm going to embarrass myself at this race coming up in July. And all of those things.
Yes.
Yeah, it's kind of like you paint yourself into a box so that you have to get out and do the work. And I'm okay with that.
You of course, you said a lot there that I have so many questions. One being, how do you ride a bicycle with one leg? But I really want to go to Nikki. And also I want to say that what you're sharing for me is an example of the statement, pain pushes until vision pulls. When you have a vision, it will pull you. Pain will push you. Why? But when you have a vision, it will pull you. It will pull you out of depression. It will pull you to keep going, even when things are falling apart, because you have a vision. I also think of Dr. Joe Dispenza, and he's always talking about, if you Google him, there's a lot of information about him on YouTube, and he talks about how the brain changes when you live from the future. You don't wait to get to the future. You think of what you want to see, what you want to see happen, and live that now. And that changes who you're being in this moment. And that's what I hear from you. But I want to go to Nikki, because time is doing what time does. It keeps moving. We can't stop it. How did you get through that moment? Those it wasn't a moment. It was moments after moment after moment. And was there a time where you're just thinking, I didn't sign up for this?
How did I get through? I, like Billy, we have amazing support systems. My faith, of course, and the support system was amazing. We have an amazing group of friends. We have an amazing family. My mom, who I talk about, was really there for me, along with my friends, my stepfather, Sydney, my dad, just my everybody. And so I definitely have to say the support system was there. I didn't sign up for this. I never thought that when everything first happened at all. And mainly because I grew up with watching, my stepfather came into my life when I was 4, and my mom got married when I was 12. And to watch that support and people there when something goes wrong, you're there. To watch my aunts, and my mom and then my grandmother, family and friends support one another. So my mindset when Billy had the accident, when I first got there, of course, they said that he wasn't going to make it. And I was like, what? And Billy's entire motorcycle crew was there, our friends, my mom, dad, everybody drives up. But I also, something clicked into me that I do think is very ancestral. It was then, I said this on our show the other day, it was then when I look back, what's innately in me. I was strong, I was powerful. I know I watched a woman handle things. I grew up watching women take care and handle stuff. So that's what clicked in, like, automatically. Okay, we got to call his mother. We got to do this. We got to do that. There's no time to cry because I got to think. And that's how things went. I didn't think I didn't sign up for this until me and Billy got in a big argument 8 years later. I'm like, I ain't signed up for this. That's
8 years later.
Growth through that. But I never went through that initially, never at all. It was more so about supporting my friends, supporting my partner, and what's next? What happens next? What's this? What's that? So that's what I went through.
And I would also just add to that, just like I say, I was uniquely qualified. Nikki is uniquely qualified for this. I mean, I can say with all honesty, I don't think anyone I had ever dated would have handled my accident the way she did.
They wouldn't have been able
to. The way she handled it was so amazing. And, just like I never had a why me? What did I do? There was never a moment where Nikki was, and I'm sure she had moments, but then she just, from the moment they told her what happened, she was like, okay, this is what needs to happen next. And she was in full action. There's a whole, we actually have had sessions about this. There was a 5-day period where only one of us was participating in this relationship because I was in a coma dreaming about flying over Central Park, in a magic land, talking to some mystical, voice in the middle of nowhere, while Nikki is handling logistics, like, okay, we need to sign here, and how do we get this, da-da-da-da. So again, we were both, the type of people that we are lent itself to us handling this in a way that, a lot of people might not have. And hold on. And I would say that I think that a lot of people could have done it the way we did. I just think most people are not called to task. Most people are never tested to their limits and asked to step up to their full potential.
But it wasn't just an accident. And I always bring this up. All the years after Billy's accident, up until 2019, Billy had an infection. So that was of course, initially it was the accident, of course. And, I always say we were in the hospital for 4 months, but he had an infection every year. And one year in 2018, that was the one that almost took us out. Like that was like the most trying thing since his accident. And one of the reasons Billy was able to beat it, he followed directions. He had to take off of work for 6 months, and he also he was in good shape. And I do have to say this, I give Billy credit to this all the time. One of the things that made things, I don't want to say easier, but Billy is really positive.
Annoyingly
Billy is
optimistic.
like really optimistic. And really, to watch a man wake up every day and brush his teeth and take a shower, eat, and then kiss you and say, bye, baby, have a great day. Even if we're not getting along, just still keep going and going. It made it easier. It made it easier. And I'm telling you this, and I say it over and over then, quarantine helped me to really take a moment and say, hey, this could have been so much worse. If he was a pill popper or a drinker. He was more so like, he's sitting here telling me, you gonna go outside and work out today? I'm like, and he's getting on his bike, crippling out. But I think I'm not crippling out.
I know, right? I was like, oops. I like that. Really? That's what we're doing now.
Crippling out. I meant limping out. That's what I meant.
Okay.
Infections every year was a thing that got us, because we would be going, and then he would have to take off of work. I would have to take off of work. We would have to be in the hospital going. So that's what really got us. And I think 2019 was the first full year that Billy didn't get sick. So we were ready for 2020, honey. And then it was like,
we've got a few minutes, and I really want you to speak to this. So as I listen to both of you, what I'm hearing is an example of when they say God doesn't give you more than you can handle.
Agreed.
And I also hear that God wastes nothing. Now, and I think it can be easy for people to listen to you both and say, well, they were special. They had a special favor. I don't have that. What would you say, both of you individually, what would you say to people who are going through changes and feel like, well, I don't have that kind of support? Or maybe feeling like they're called to task, but they don't have the resources. What would you say to them in helping them navigating what life is calling forth from within them?
One thing I feel like you have to have a higher power, whatever you call God, Allah, Buddha, whatever. Having a higher power and faith and knowing that there's something bigger than you, that's what supported. That's one of the main supports I had and what I believe in. And I would say, if the higher power is the universe, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Just make sure you have a higher power and know that you are not in here putting this out there by yourself. My good friend Lachelle Wooten always says, speak what you want and the universe will take care of the rest, or God will take care of the rest. And I truly believe that. I truly believe that.
Yeah. I would say the same thing. And I would add to that, find a way to use whatever superpower you do have to benefit others. Mm-hmm. Because on the days when it's been the hardest for me and for us, one of the things that I'm big on is like, okay, so how can I help somebody else without expectation of return on investment? Just let me use what I do well to help other people, knowing that the universe, God, whatever, will push that back on me. And it has worked. And we don't always know what it looks like. But it's always like, let me just put something out there to help somebody else, and knowing that somewhere that's going to come back. And it always does. So for people out there that are struggling, I would say, first of all, take your mind off of yourself, take a moment, It's okay to struggle. Take a moment. Every day above ground is a good day. And then find a way to help somebody else. And that might be going to a soup kitchen. It might be tutoring math. It may be, delivering Meals on Wheels. It might just be giving a homeless person a buck, or just, calling up somebody that you don't think needs it, and whatever that is. But find a way to use your superpower to help somebody else, and then seeing where that gets you first.
And from a caretaker standpoint, from a partner standpoint, one of the things that I got to learn through this, it's okay to put yourself first. I think one of the biggest things when Billy and I when this all happened, it was Billy. And I neglected myself. And what happened as years went on, I wasn't my best self to be that support that I was from the beginning, even though I was supportive, but resentment would happen. And then I really had to say, hey, and he helped me with that. It's not that he wanted me to neglect myself. It is okay. I'm talking to the caretakers, the partners. It is okay to put yourself first. And if that means you got to get up at 4:00 in the morning to have your morning moment, and work out and take a walk and be there for you, put yourself first in the midst of it all, because then you would be your best self to be a better partner and support system with none of that junk in the middle of it, Yeah.
Yes. I so get it. Because if your cup is empty, everybody's gonna be thirsty.
Exactly.
And if all you have is just a little bit, and both of y'all thirsty, it's like, let me see if I drink this, I can go find another bottle somewhere.
Exactly.
And we're often told to put other people first. Think of other people. That's important, but we got to find the balance, and we are the balance. We are the balance between those telling us what to do and us taking in what we're told to do. We are the balance. If we're not balanced, everybody's out of balance. I'm so grateful for both of you. Your love, your smile, your energy, your vision, and I thank you for being an example of possibility. Example of what it means to have faith, and it's an action word, to believe. And it's like, I really know that, like Billy was saying earlier, when life calls you to task, you find yourself coming up with things that you didn't even know existed. And sometimes in society, I think we're so, I say this with love, I think sometimes in society we're pampered, that we don't get to really understand our own power sometimes. But, I just thank you for, just being an example of possibility. Anything you want to share with us before you move on to your next adventure?
We have a show on Thursday nights called The Amputee and His Girl. Billy is really funny. I'm kind of funny. And we created this show during quarantine. This also brought us closer together, and really, you got two entrepreneurs. We always say with 3 legs and 1 good knee, and Billy is the one with the good knee because I got osteoarthritis in both my knees. But yeah, and it's funny. We talk politics. We have positive stories, positive guests on, and yeah, right, Paige?
It's a good time.
It's
positive
a good
stories,
time.
Pop culture, politics.
Yes, it's on Thursday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at The Amputee and His Girl. He's the amputee. And
just in case they didn't know, right?
And yeah, we have a good time. So follow us on Instagram. You can see us on YouTube and Facebook. And we have a really good time, and we have a lot of people from the amputee community on. We have other entrepreneurs on. So yeah, we have a good time. It's good. And I have to shout it out, baby. The Ladies First Chit Chat crew on Saturdays at 11:00 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we honor the voice of the everyday woman.
One last question.
One more thing, Ade. The Bill Davis Foundation, Cheeseburger Day.
Yes, and Cheeseburger Day will be celebrated this year on May 25th. We're going to do a big event in Harlem. You can donate money. All of proceeds this year will go towards Achilles International, which is an organization that helps people suffering from multiple disabilities participate in races and runs and triathlons. I'm on the triathlon team for Achilles. It was started by a gentleman who was the first amputee to run the New York City Marathon. So we are taking donations, and all donations will be will land at that. We'll land at Achilles.
Yeah, go to the BillyDavisFoundation.com, and you'll see more about Billy's story, the people around him, and donate.
So your anniversary is coming up in 8 days, Billy. Anniversary to a new life.
Oh, man.
Question, one word. Life gave you a new identity. When life gave you a new identity, what is one thing you learn about yourself, Nikki? One word.
I am powerful.
Same question, Billy.
Perseverant.
All in the P. That's where the power is. When you recognize the presence. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time. For what you're doing. Peace and blessings to you both.
Mwah!
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Life is good and it's getting better. There's not much to say other than to tell you, check out my website, sign up for my mailing list, lifecoachade.com. And I also invite you to go to bit.ly/represent stories to sign up for the upcoming Representing Our Ancestors, Representing Our Stories. You have all those people behind you, cheering for you, rooting for you, whatever you're going through, whether it's challenging, whether you're prospering, you have thousands and thousands and thousands of people in you as you cheering for you. And to really access that power, to access that vision, is important to tell a different story. As opposed to a sob story, you can tell a story that is inspired with vision and dreams. bit.ly/represent stories. Go there, register. This Saturday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. UK time. Join us and let's grow together. This is part 2, and part 3 is June 19th. And the theme then is a vision of a new generation. This event right now, this first session, the first series, is for Black people only, a place for us to grow, to change the narrative, to tell a new story, to create the kind of world that we want to see based on what is true for us, based on our own power, to remind ourselves that we're not victims, we're healers. We're here to transform, and we constantly do that. So thank you so much all for being here. I love you. I bless you. I appreciate you. And I thank God for you. Make sure you check out Nikki's website if you're at home, or, there's a sort of something newish happening and you're like, oh yeah, COVID-19, I got this weight on. I don't know what to do. Well, Nikki is your woman. and if you're really dealing with your mindset and, you're just thinking, how do I get to that place? Billy is your man. Or together you can have both of them. So you will feel protected. You will feel like someone's taking care of you, and you're going to winning in a whole new way. Thank you, Satima. Thank you, listeners, Crystal, Pat, Quali, Stella, New Jays, my Aries twin sister. Thank you all for being here. If I missed you, please forgive me. We're getting ready to release this conversation, and remind me, which one are we doing, Satima? Yeah. Breathe and push. It's okay. Thank you, beautiful people. Once again, I love you. I bless you. I appreciate you. And I thank God for you. Join me tomorrow for the Facebook Live, as well as Saturday, May 15th. Actually, join me tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, 2 a.m. UK time for Soul Fulfilling with Ricky Byers. All right. We're out of here. Peace and blessings.
Be who you are. Let your light shine.